2-0 going into game 3. What's happening here? Ooh, transmute. Looks decent. Transmute might be. I really want transmute to be the correct answer. So the main draw looks like City Quarter. There's also Imperial Envoy, which you could draw using Squire. The thinning Grotto isn't really thinning, but it kind of is. You set aside 4 junk. Grotto seems great with City Quarter because it gives you like a 9 card starting hand, and then your first City Quarter is likely to draw you plenty of cards, find your second City Quarter, and you go from there. So probably like you could get by with just Grotto and no the thinning. I think it'd be fine, just because of how likely it is to line you up a good City Quarter turn. But you could also trash the Rats. Rats isn't normally a trasher in and of itself because it just turns junk cards into other Rats, which you have to have a plan to get rid of. But here we have once again seen Way the Butterfly for the second time in this match. You could turn your junk into rats, then butterfly the rats up into groundskeepers, envoys, or villains, or duchies. And that's the main thing making me second guess the transmutes. Transmute could also turn your coppers into transmutes, which then can be turned into duchies. But I think, given Way the Butterfly, rats is basically just like extra strong transmute. So I think probably rats beats transmute here as a means of getting rid of your junk. But yeah, I think the goal is acquire a few city quarters, play a few rats, turn them into groundskeepers, play some more rats, turn those into duchies, score a bunch of points. Something like that. Looks like a tricky kingdom to play. There's a lot of stuff to balance here. Unfortunately, you cannot use Way the Butterfly on Necropolis. I'd love to turn this into a grotto if I could, but I can't. Reason being is Way the Butterfly says you may return this to its pile to gain a card costing exactly 1 more than it, and that 2 means you have to do the first thing successfully or the second thing won't trigger. And the Necropolis doesn't have a pile. There is no shelters pile to return it to. So if you play Necropolis Way the Butterfly, that's a legal play, but it wouldn't go anywhere, and so you wouldn't gain anything. How to open? I'm not sure. I definitely want a pair of grottos sooner rather than later. Maybe Rats Grotto? Sounds reasonable. I think I like Rats Grotto. Yuri agrees. I don't like seeing Overgrown Estate here. I really wish I could trash that with the rats early on. Probably second Grotto now. Play the rats if I draw it. Set aside everything on Grotto. And then hopefully for the rest of the game I'll have 4 things set aside on Grotto from here on out. I think probably at the first chance I get I can turn a rat into a villain. Villain's going to hit harder here than usual. Usually villain early on doesn't do much because you always have a state in your hand and you just pitch in a state. But here we have shelters and not estates. And the villain is going to hit one of your real cards. So I would like, for example, maybe play the first rats, butterfly the second rats into a villain, go from there. I can go ahead and pre-move this. Play the grotto play the Necropolis by the grotto. Can you pre-move ways? Let me test that out. If I do Way the Butterfly, Necropolis, apparently it does not work. Well, I got a 50-50 shot of finding the grotto. The downside case isn't so bad. I'd hit 4 and I'd a card and then do the grotto next turn. That's not the end of the world or anything. Yuri's draws are looking a little bit better though. We're basically in a very similar position, except he got to trash Overgrown Estate, which means he can set aside all 4. Yeah. So even if I do this and find the grotto, which I didn't, I'd only set aside 3. I think just Flag Bearer here. This is a terrible draw. You don't want to see both grottos in the same hand. That's no good. Yes, I'm probably losing this one. The upside of having the Flag Bearer was if I have an extra card in hand this turn and I draw, for example, rats, you really want to set aside 4 with the grotto. And if I had none set aside previously, that would mean setting aside every single card in my hand. But with that 1 extra card off of Flag Bearer, I can potentially play rats, still have 5 cards in hand, and then set aside 4 on the grotto. I definitely did not want to say this grotto though. The problem is, if you play one grotto and the other grotto is anywhere except on the grotto, you're gonna find the second grotto almost guaranteed because it's gonna sift through most of your deck. And then once you get that cycle set up, you just never fail to keep 4 cards aside. But here, if I set aside 4, next turn I'm gonna have 8 cards. I'll draw up to a 9-card hand, but I'll be drawing into the discard, which has all this junk in it again, and it is far from guaranteed that I find the grotto again. Alright, Yuri takes the flag, that jerk. I don't know if it's better to play the rats or I could set aside 4, butterfly the rats in the villain, or I could just play the rats one more time. I think I'd rather do the butterfly. Alright, so I think my chances of winning this game are going to hinge very strongly on whether I manage to draw the second grotto again this turn. If I get a few chances to find it, I'll draw 1 card into my discard pile just off the grotto draw, and I have a second rats down here which can trash this Overgrown Estate and draw me 2 more cards. Please, pretty please, thank goodness. Okay, so I still got a shot. Let's set aside 4. I really want to get the flag back. I was contemplating just butterflying the flag bearer, but then I wouldn't hit 4. And I think setting aside 4 on grotto was basically non-optional. I think I'm just going to play it for the money and buy a new one, and that's fine. I'm definitely a bit behind, but not out of this quite yet. I would not mind a squire at some point for plus buy in actions. Here he's got 1. I could always gain an Imperial Envoy mid-turn off of one of these butterfly plays. But Imperial Envoy also is not that good until I've got a squire for actions to play it. See, I want squires soon. You could always play a double villain here. Usually only the first villain hits, because once they've discarded 1 card, they no longer have 5 cards in hand. But if Yuri takes the flag back, I could always take a second villain, play both villains, and then both villains would hit, because the first would discard 1, the second would discard 1 more. The discard attack's not going to be like that painful with Grotto once it's set up. But it's something. I've been attacked. Goodbye, flag bearer. So I could always get the flag back by just trashing this flag bearer into a rat, which maybe is correct. Oh, I still have the flag. He did not take it. He did take a bunch of squires, though, which I am envious of. Play rats, trash a card. Maybe do that one more time. Hmm. No, I think I can't afford to play another rats. So I need to set aside 4. If I played one more rat, so I'd have to set aside either the Necropolis or the flag bearer to hit 4. And that'd be a bit awkward. Not to hit 4 money, to hit 4 cards set aside. I could set aside like Necropolis, flag bearer, 2 coppers, and then have villain and a copper left over, spend 1 copper to buy the squire, which would be fine. The downside to that line, I think, is that my Necropolis is in my discard, and I don't necessarily draw it, and I really want to find the Necropolis for future turns. I definitely remain behind here. I don't think I'm dead lost or anything. But Yuri's got more of most of the good stuff. Definitely have to play this because I need to find the grotto. And we're setting aside 4 and doing what? I'm thinking maybe just play Necropolis, play Squire for buys, play Villain by like 2 squires in a city quarter. Kind of like what Yuri's got going on over there. I value the actions and the draw a lot more than the money, I think. The goal is to have enough actions to eventually convert all these rats into real stuff, and that requires villages. I've been attacked. How is this game going to end? Rats will probably pile out at some point, squires can run out, and then either groundskeeper or duchy, I would think. Probably what happens is you get a few groundskeepers until you can't afford to take groundskeeper anymore, and then it eventually piles out on duchies. Seems like the way this is likely to go. Let's retake the flag. Actions. Maybe play one more of these. Set aside. And turn this into a groundskeeper. 2 actions. Don't want silvers. I think I can afford silvers. I'm going to hit 8 here, which means I can add a second city quarter now. With 2 city quarters, I should be drawing fine, I think. Uh-oh, I might be losing the rat split. Yuri sure has a lot of those. Oh, he's trashing his squires and gaining villains. Intriguing. I don't know that having a bunch of villains is better than a bunch of squires here, to be perfectly honest. Oh, the rats come back. So the rats pile is never truly empty. Butterfly, rats. Check copper. Okay, so I got 3 actions left. Probably 1 villain play. I don't know if the attack really matters at this point. Oh my... What happened? Yuri does not have a grotto in play. What did you do, Yuri? Something bad happened. Oh. Now I understand everything. How did this happen? Well, he did get a little bit greedy and only set aside 3 cards instead of 4, which is something one ought not do. So this last turn, turn 10, the reason he was playing his rats and trashing a bunch of squires, this is not a choice he was making excitedly. I don't think he wanted to kill his squires into villains. He hadn't found his grotto yet, and he was desperately playing rats, trying to draw on and find the grotto, and he couldn't find it. Um, and yeah, not having a grotto down means this. Oh, he also. I was gonna say I should play a second villain to maximize the chance he does, but he doesn't have a 6-card hand. So yeah, 100% sure we're playing the villain here. So probably just. What's the number I want to hit? I'd love to hit at least 10 so I could buy an estate and capitalize on this groundskeeper point. So I got 3, 9. So I have to play 1 copper, so I can set aside 2 rats. That's fine. This looks like it's working out just fine. Oh, I didn't even account for the villain. I forgot the villain gives coppers. I didn't need to have 1 copper left. Silly me. Yeah, I don't know exactly. Probably setting aside 3 instead of 4 was a little bit risky. Not a huge risk, but it looks like it hurt him. Not getting a grotto down potentially causes huge problems. Okay, maybe he's fine. This is still not great. Looks like the thing was about as good as it possibly could have been. He had City Quarter and 3 other action cards and the second City Quarter. But even so, he didn't draw his deck. Okay. Okay. Can I win here? Let's consider. Got the points lead, so I could kind of trivially empty the rats. Butterfly 1 thing into Groundskeeper. Can I make enough money to buy 4 squires? I think the answer is yes, this is a win. Feels like a win. I need to play 2 squires for plus buy. I need to make 8 money. Do I have that? Am I 1 coin short? Say it ain't so. Maybe I can get this by butterflying a rats into a villain. I think that checks out. Butterfly rats into villain. No. Oh no, this is fine. This is fine. So normally, if you want to pile out rats, all you need to have is 2 rats in your deck and draw your deck. And with 2 rats, you can play rats, gain rats. Second rat draws rats, gains rats. Then you have another rat, draws rats, gains rats. And you do that until the pile empties. The downside to that is it trashes every other card in your hand because each rat's play trashes something. And so my plan is going to be make 8 money, play rats until the rats pile is empty, and then buy out 4 squires after butterflying once for Groundskeeper. But there's only 6 rats left in the pile, actually. So I don't need to trash every single card in my hand to pile the rats. I'll have a little bit of money left over. At least I sure hope I didn't miscount that. Looks like it works out. Don't need the villain even. I would click Annex because it'd be more points, but Annex takes a few clicks to resolve, and that wasn't worth it. All right, 3-0.